Welcome, everyone, to our daily podcast series. Today we are here with Tom Christopher, founder and CEO. Tom, thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure.
So what is this about love during these tough times? Can you explain a little bit more?
Yeah, as you know, Laura, we run the largest retained HR executive search firm boutique in the country, and then we also have a very robust and rapidly growing consulting practice. And so myself and the leaders of our company are on the phone all day long with CHROs and HR executives all over the country, and we have a morning meeting to share what's going on, what are we hearing, what are we seeing. This COVID-19 is presenting new challenges and new dynamics that, companies have never seen before. And so in this virtual world, this is the first time, arguably, that we've ever seen a broad, systemic American economy go home for work. We've had go home, but not work. And because of technology, we have distributed workforces like we've never seen before. And so employees go home, and they get on the internet, and they get on their phone, and they continue to perform their daily duties, but they do it remotely. They also do it in isolation. They're alone. They're not with anybody else, and that high-touch element has been lost. And so we are hearing a growing movement among HR leaders saying, what is our company culture at this time? And how do we define our company culture when we have a distributed workforce in a time of crisis? And those are two very different dimensions. One is we're distributed. Two is we're in a time of crisis. And so what does our employment brand stand for? One CHRO I spoke with on Thursday of last week said, we believe this is a fantastic opportunity to really reinforce who we are as a company and what our culture and our employment brand stands for. And he went on further to say that, those companies that really reach an extending arm to their employees and have a structured communication plan and seize the opportunity are really going to go a long way to reinforcing the brand and making their employees feel loved. Equally, those companies that aren't thinking about it because they're preoccupied with other things, not only will their employees be operating in a bit of a vacuum with very limited contact or information from their mother company, but more importantly, they're going to feel potentially a bit unloved. It's, hey, I'm out here by myself, and it's every man, woman, and child for themselves. And so long way around the barn, we're hearing a growing reports of companies saying, hey, this is when we really want to be driving a structured employee relations plan filled with important communication about the company, about the state of the business, about where we're going, as well as how other employees are doing within the company, and letting people know that they're cared for and they matter. So all about the love.
Mm-hmm. Can you go deeper into, what companies are doing and also any success stories that you've heard?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a growing number of companies that we're working with that have taken very simple approaches. As they all report, we're very busy and very preoccupied with all the COVID-19 implications, from sterilization of the work environment so people can return, to administration of benefits, to keeping track of employees whose families have been affected. But they're all saying we have to have structured communications with our teams, and it's got to come from the top. We don't have a lot of time, so they're keeping it very simple. So we're seeing podcasts, we're seeing town hall meetings once a week, we're seeing voicemail blasts, we're seeing email blasts, and they're coming from the most senior members of the organization, whether it be the CEO or his leadership team. We've seen some companies pull their executive team together and actually have virtual town hall meetings once a week to report on the state of the business and what the company is doing to make sure that it not only survives the pandemic, but it's situated and prepared to thrive once it's over with. In these times, one CHRO said it to me last week. He said, our CEO came out and he said it better than anybody could have. When people go through times of great stress and catastrophic events, it's very characteristic that there is a void of communication. People will fill that void with speculation. and the speculation will generally be negative, and it will be exponentially worse than the actual situation. Think about a natural disaster and a tornado goes through. Communication lines oftentimes are wiped out, and then various ways of communication creep up. People start filling the void, sharing information as best they can, and of course it tends to be far more negative. So as one CHRO said, he said, you know, Tom, if we don't define the communications are going to define us, and it could be far worse. So we're making a concerted effort to communicate through all these different mechanisms. And in today's environment, there's so many available. Again, podcasts, town hall meetings, emails, voicemails. It is just an imperative time for communication to your teams and to your company with a message of, we care, you matter, your families matter, and this is where our business is today, and this is how we're going to survive, and more importantly, this is how we're positioned to thrive once this is over.
And finally, what is TCG doing to provide HR support to these companies?
Yeah, so we're getting more and more requests for assistance with this. Again, HR departments right now are really stressed and strapped. They're running at, they're working 50, 60 hours a week trying to, help the companies get through this pandemic and position and prepare for what lies beyond. So everybody's tight on resources. So we have a series of project managers and consultants. These are former HR professionals that have either retired or have gone out and are consultants and hung their own shingle, and they specialize in employee relations, professional relations, and communications, particularly during very difficult times. They're coming in and they're helping our clients set up very simple but highly effective communication programs to keep people aligned, inspired, and informed. And I got to tell you, the feedback's been overwhelming. We have senior executives that are coming back to us saying, you know what, we hadn't been thinking about this, but boy, this is important now more than ever. And it's both sides. It's the rank and file, if you will, and the employee base that feels very thankful that they're hearing voices about and information about where the company's going to go and how it's going to get there and how it's going to survive, and that people care about them. But the executives are also reporting they really appreciate it because they're feeling connected. They're feeling unified with their team. And they're taking this incredible negative and, in fact, turning it into a real positive. As we see in the news every day, no greater time to galvanize a nation than around a major issue, or in this case, pandemic. It can be a tremendous galvanizing force. Same thing from an HR perspective. So again, we have consultants that are helping with that. We're keeping it very simple. It's not very expensive. It's not very time consuming. But boy, is it making a huge difference. One last success story I'll share with you. We had one client that really took this to heart. And the CEO literally is doing a state of the business address every single week in a recorded video cast. And boy, it has just galvanized their business. The feedback they're getting from their employees is off the charts. They appreciate the leadership, they appreciate the compassion, and they really appreciate knowing that there's a plan to make sure their jobs are protected and their business is protected. So again, we're here to help in any way we can. I strongly encourage all our listeners to please carry this flag back to your respective teams. It can make a huge difference, especially in these tough times.
Well, thank you so much, Tom, and thank you everyone for listening. Again, we will be sharing these updates every week, so stay tuned and stay informed. Again, thank you so much.
You're most welcome, and most importantly, everyone, please stay safe, and may God bless you during this Holy Week.